What's up, everybody, and welcome back into the Play the Fight Song College Football Show. Week 9 is upon us, and we are getting deep into the college football season. The conference schedule is rolling. We've had some great matchups, great recaps. Check out our Week 8 recap if you haven't yet, because that got a lot of our thoughts off the table as we preview Week 9 tonight. If it's your first time here, if you're a returning viewer, we appreciate you. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It's a college football show for everyone where we're going to cover G5 all the way through the Power 4 throughout the entire season, along with our fan perspectives, Iowa, Iowa State, and Nebraska. Give those a look live on our YouTube right now. We appreciate you, but let's preview Week 9. JP, how are we doing tonight? We ready for another great college football slate?
Great. I'm doing great. A little exhausted. Work's got me. It's just busy time of year. Shout out Happy Harvest to everybody. I'm sure everybody's wrapping up here around the Midwest. But, I'm kind of in the mood feeling like a Kenny Chesney song, Out Last Night, like we're going to get ready to have a good time again this weekend. Going to be a blast. Just pumped for some stuff going on here. Underrated slate in the fact that the slate doesn't give you necessarily the biggest brand names in some spots, as you'll see in the ones we cover. But it definitely does change the landscape of college football, depending on who wins and loses this weekend, more than we've seen. I'd say in the last couple of years, like there's more teams and more games that are touchy because you don't have an elite team across the country at this moment in time. So I'm excited to see how that shakes out. Also, like G5 slate is good. Like I know there's an obvious one for the one we pick is game of the week, but the slate itself is very good from Power 4 down to the G5. So I'm pumped to watch those and spread out across Thursday all the way to Saturday. So pumped about it.
I would say the slate this week is not like, maybe it's not number 1 versus number 5, but it's number 1 versus number 20, or there's just these weird little matchups that they could go in the direction of making the weekend one to remember. Jake, ready to preview Week 9? What do you think of the slate?
I think it's underrated. I think there are a lot of fan bases who are in kind of desperation mode. Like a loss this weekend can really turn things for the worst. And, you got like Missouri, Alabama. I think both teams need to win that game really bad. Oh, yeah. But there's a few that we'll all jump into, but it's kind of one of them underrated weekends. It reminds me, we had a couple of good big marquee matchups the last couple of weeks. It reminds me of the weekend to the degree of Vandy, Alabama, Arkansas, Tennessee. Under the radar matchups, it's usually when we do get one of the better weekends in college football.
Absolutely. With that, we're going to preview 4 main games tonight, maybe a 5th if we have enough time. Then we're going to open it up, talk about the slate in general, any games we did not go into depth with. We'll give you our G5 game of the week, our best bets, and our underdogs, our dogs segment, of course. It's getting better. I'm definitely slowing down on my good picks. My record has taken a hit. Jake's still rolling. JP's made a second half push, and Reese is just fighting to stay competitive within the group. But Reese is not with us tonight. He is traveling back home, Wi-Fi issues, but we miss Reese. Hopefully he'll be able to join the show and be a part of it somehow, some way. But we do appreciate him being with the group as normal. But all right, with that, before we go into the Week 9 previews, let's talk No Rivals, our great partner, shopnorivals.com. Use the code PTFS at checkout for free shipping on any of your premium collegiate headwear. Check them out. They're adding teams by the day. If you don't see your team on there, go to the teams tab. All the way at the bottom, there's a request your team button. Fill that out, request your team. Hopefully they'll add them soon. Those hats are sweet. So check them out. Use that code. We appreciate them. Shop No Rivals today. All right, with that, let's go into the Week 9 previews. Let's lead it off with a good one. The America's team, America's Independent versus America's team. Notre Dame Navy. MetLife Stadium at 11 a.m. this Saturday morning on ABC. Notre Dame is a 12.5-point favorite. I've seen 13 as well. This one should be good because everybody wants to see undefeated Navy against a good opponent. Here's their chance. JP, break this one down for us.
Yeah, let's first break this down by saying Notre Dame fans and the school itself and the athletic department, soft. We won't play at Georgia Tech. We're not going to play in Annapolis. They play Army at home, correct?
Yankee
At
Stadium.
Yankee Stadium, even worse. We're scared to go to Mikey. Like, I understand you have fans across the country and whatnot, but give me a break. You're just taking home games away from teams whose atmosphere would be just as good as yours. Like, let's be honest. Like, I'm not saying Georgia Tech is the exception. I'm telling you, Navy undefeated Notre Dame coming to town is just as good as an atmosphere as if Navy was playing at Notre Dame. I'm telling you, Notre Dame at Mikey Stadium in upstate New York would be just as good as playing in South Bend. So, like, go play the team at home. Go play a true road game, you soft humans. That's my little
Fair
rant for
point.
that. Obviously, players have nothing to do with that. They can't control it. But what they can control is an offense that's getting a little bit better and better with Notre Dame on that side of things. Marcus Freeman just continues to find a way to lean on his opponent with this offense and this defense and just kind of beat him into the ground. Georgia Tech really struggled to move the football last week. Obviously, the absence of Haynes King changes things for that team and who they are identity-wise. But Notre Dame, I think, is coming into their own a little bit more and more as time goes. Defense is good, even with the injuries we've seen and big injuries. These are guys that are going to play on Sundays that they're missing on that defensive unit. But if you're looking at a game that I'm sure that Marcus Freeman's had circled and a little worried about, it's when you're playing these service academies who are feeling really good about themselves and who've been good on both sides of the football, right? That's an understanding of just how hard these teams play, just who they are, how hard it is to prep for the option when done really well. And to be clear with you, like, I don't think Notre Dame, as they have the better athletes, I don't think that they are just head and shoulders way above Navy as an entire football team. So I think that line sits at 12.5, 13, probably just based on, the talent level of things. And if Navy doesn't find a way to stop it, this is the first offense they've seen with the pulse outside of Memphis. Memphis had their way with them. So if Riley Leonard and this crew are going to get on the right path and stay that way, this is a good defense to do it against, as Navy's seen some points put on in this one throughout the year. This Navy team on the other side, like, this option attack's been good. Obviously, when you do that and you see everything that they've got going on, it's hard to prepare for, especially when they're humming and doing things well. They've thrown the ball a lot better this year. If you go look at the numbers, it's been incorporated into the offense rather than just a piece that they have to do in third and long or late in games in the fourth quarter. So it's a tough matchup for Notre Dame. It's a really tough matchup for Navy. Like, this is the outside of Memphis, which is a good win. This is a really tough team to play against, and easily the best defense they've seen all year.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, you're not going to lose anything if you're Navy.
There
Go out
is.
there and play your hearts out. Like, go do your thing. You're literally not going to lose any. If you lose this game, no harm, no foul. Notre Dame, like, this is for your season in these really tough spots.
That's a great breakdown. While you were doing that, Reese joined the show. Reese, what's up? How's the Wi-Fi? We're see if we can get an answer out of you.
If you want to look up, if you look at the definition of adversity right now, you're going to see a picture of me, because while you said that, I think you cut out 6 or 7 times. My headphones are dead. I had to go rummage through to find some of these. I'm running. It's the farm life. I'm not chasing after cows tonight, but I'm dropping my dad off and stuff, dude. It is all over the place over here. But we're here. We're ready to talk football.
All right. He's in the show somehow, some way. Jake, if we can put it together here, let's talk a little Notre Dame Navy. Break this one down.
Just wants to
There
hang
was a
out.
9-second delay after I got done talking, and you guys started talking too. This is going great. We're gonna roll with it, boys.
Okay, I'll try to pick up from there. If there's one thing you guys know on the show, and when I talk about Notre Dame, I refer to Coach Freeman as Big Game Mark. He always seems to has his teams up for big games. Now he sleeps through Northern Illinois.
Marshall.
Now Marshall a few years ago, correct. But now that Navy's got a number to the side of him, is he ready? Is he ready for this one? Is he probably not sleeping at the wheel for this one? That's, wait to be seen. But we get it statistically, 2 top 10 teams. You have Navy, who's the 4th ranked scoring offense in college football, against Notre Dame, who's the 5th ranked scoring defense in college football. JP, you highlighted it. Navy has not seen a defense even remotely close to Notre Dame. And in fact, I want to give credit to Blake Horvath and that offense and how good they've played so far this year. Let's keep in mind now, Navy's played Charlotte, Temple, UAB, Air Force, Bucknell, And then, yes, they did get a big win against Memphis. Don't want to discredit it from that. But 4 of those 5 teams are probably the bottom 100 of college football. Bucknell's an FCS school. And Memphis, while defensively they've been a little better this year, they're still bottom like 60th in total yards given up and stuff like that. So they have not even remotely close to seeing a good defense. Like, we cannot highlight that enough. But the question is, Navy will punch them in the mouth. I think they're going to come ready to play. It's always a hard game plan to go against that scheme, and they can throw the ball this year. So if they have success running the football, you can't just load the box and rely on that, because that's when Horvath can beat you through the air, and he only needs to do it. I don't know. He's good. Like last week, he threw for 11 of 17. So he's been good. He's been efficient. I think Navy is obviously a big play if they get up early with the plus 13, but I'll save my prediction for the end.
All right. I like that breakdown. That's kind of where I had it as well. I think Notre Dame really needs to focus on getting the outside going, getting Bo Collins going. We've all obviously had that discussion before on whether or not Notre Dame can pass the ball effectively throughout an entire game. Riley Leonard's been good on the road. I mean, think back to the Purdue game. I know Purdue is a terrible opponent, but they came out and they took care of business. This is kind of a spot where I see Notre Dame really handling a team that hasn't faced any sort of adversity yet. I do like Navy, though. I don't want to sit here and be like, yeah, it's Navy, man. They haven't played anybody. But if you're going to run a schedule like Navy's run, that's the kind of answers you're going to get out of the college football world. I think they'll put up a fight early, but there's too much talent and too much depth on the side of Notre Dame, because even though they've had their injuries, they're still winning football games, and they're kind of in that winning way. This is a huge game for Notre Dame, and the fact that you drop one to NIU, this makes that a must win. If you want to sneak into that Notre Dame slot they built for you in the playoffs, this is a must win game and a neutral site. I will give flowers to the Navy offensive line, though. Only been up 3 sacks the entire season. That's pretty impressive. But with the defensive front of Notre Dame and the talent they have in that defense in general, I think that number changes this week. And I think Notre Dame pretty much takes care of business on the road in this spot. Now, if Reese can give us a preview, I'd be really, really impressed. But we'll keep your thoughts short, Reese, but give us your breakdown if you can.
Yeah, if I just start cutting out, you just give me a little hand or something. We'll figure it out. But I think you put it together very well right there. I think that this is a game where if they want to get in that 12 team at the end of the year, they cannot afford to lose it. And how much you have going for them too. You talk about this. It's also they have Army too. I mean, I'm an Army guy. It's like I think Army's a better football team compared to this Navy team too. So they have to be able to beat this team here and handle them too. So I think Marcus Freeman. It's also, are they able to run the ball offensively? If they're able to run the ball on this Navy team, which is pretty stout defensively, then they're set up for success. But if they're going to make them throw it, make it more uncomfortable, then covering the number, I think gets to be a little bit more interesting for Notre Dame.
All right. I like that. That's a good preview, especially for the adversity you're fighting yourself. I think one thing to make very clear here is that your face isn't moving. I feel like I'm watching Squid Game a little bit. Like I flipped on the English version and it's just like,
I know it's Squid Game.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I feel like I'm watching. But with that, let's go roundtable style. Pick this one, Notre Dame Navy, 12.5 points, probably what we'll put on the ATS board. Jake, you lead us off.
Games we've predicted for Notre Dame this year, knock on wood, they haven't let me down. I think Notre Dame is up for the test with this one. I think Army, out of any teams, to give them fits down the road. I like Notre Dame in this spot. I'm not saying Navy's games so far have been fluky. I just don't think they really have an idea of kind of the athletes they'll see defensively on Saturday.
I think Navy puts up more points than I originally or most of the country will probably expect them to, but I think Notre Dame pulls away at the end. I think Horvath finally makes some mistakes here and there against a really good secondary, maybe an Xavier Watts pick. That's what pulls Notre Dame away. They cover and win on the road in this spot. JP.
No, give me Navy. Give me Navy in the points. I don't know if they outright win this thing, but they're going to have a real shot to be in this late. Now, here's what I'm thinking here. Like I talked about how Notre Dame got better offensively and stuff. Yeah, it's just a Band-Aid on a larger wound, I think. I don't think that it's gotten way better to the point where I need to just laying 13 with them against a team who's feeling good about themselves. So I'll take the points with Navy.
But you Notre Dame to win the game? Points with Navy?
Yeah, close.
Okay. Notre Dame to win it on the road. 3 Notre Dame winners, 1 Navy ATS pick. Reese, what are you rounding out with?
See, I feel like if they do cover this game, they're going to make it close. It's not going to be I don't think Navy's not going to be down 20 and then get a last second bomb to get a backdoor cover. I'll go with JP. I think Navy will cover this number. I think they'll just make it a little more sloppy, a little more interesting. I'll take Notre Dame in this spot to win though, but Navy to cover.
All right, there it is. That's game 1 of the Week 9 slate we are going to preview. Let's move it to the Big Ten. Let's go to Autzen Stadium, where the number 1 ranked Ducks for the first time since 2012 are going to battle against the Fighting Illini and Brett Bielema's squad. This one is a 21.5 point spread, but Illinois has been a pesky team and has already beat 3 ranked teams this year. JP, break this one down for us. Is this a spot where another number 1 team goes down in 2024?
Yeah, you could say that both these teams have had really good wins in the last couple of weeks. I'm going to count Michigan at home for Illinois as a good win, just simply by the way they should have won that game by more, but the way they just handled it. And Michigan never had a chance, right? Obviously, the win against Ohio State for Oregon and Autzen's huge. Now you get a little bit more hype. You're ranked number 1. You have a 3-score spread against a ranked Big Ten team at home. Here's where I'm at on this one is I understand that and know that Oregon can score on anybody in the country, and Illinois has not been an elite defense, but they've been very good. They've been very opportunistic, and there's things that Oregon does that really keep the ball out of harm's way. Obviously, they started to flash the offense in the vertical passing game a little bit more against Ohio State, and their DBs couldn't handle it, and like even the better DBs on Ohio State's roster weren't able to cover guys like Trayshawn Holden and Evan Stewart, right? But I think Brett Bielema's got this team feeling good about themselves, and that's a team that's balanced. That, again, we talked about this in the G5 preview about Boise State. This is a team who knows who they are, and they're not going to go outside of that and try to do too much. I think the worry here is that Altmaier tries to play a little bit of hero ball, which he's done in the past, a little less this year. I feel like in a lot of ways he's kept the turnovers at a minimum. He hasn't throwing errant things, trying to make bigger plays out of nothing. So when I'm looking at Illinois here, it's if you're going to stay in this football game, it's limiting big plays, it's sustaining longer drives, it's finding ways to win the hidden yardage battle in some spots. It's just making sure you don't turn it over in opportune times. Like it's basic cliche stuff, and I understand that. And I'm like, everybody's going to be watching this, but I'm not really getting anything out of this. But I'm telling you how a team like Illinois stays in games with the way they play football, very complimentary, very balanced, and very within themselves. And so there is a shot here that Illinois gets a chance to win this game late. And there's also a shot that, Oregon starts to flex its muscles a little bit defensively, and Altmaier runs into a defense, kind of like the Nebraska one at times where it was tough for him to move the football. So it's going to be really good. And I think it's going to tell us a lot about Oregon again, is now that all this hype's on you, you're the center of attention. You're 230 CBS again, prove us that you continue to hold this number 1 spot in the country.
I think you get another test here for Brett Bielema's scheme ability, because he's been really good this year scheming and keeping his team in games late against a Nebraska, against a Michigan, even competing on the road late at Penn State. But I'm not sure that Illinois defense has seen an offense loaded with weapons like this throughout the entire season. You think maybe the Kansas matchup early in the year, Jalen Daniels really isn't himself this year. Nebraska, you can't compare them to the outside talent that Oregon has, nor the speed. And then Michigan, you might as well just throw it down the drain when it comes to offensive talent. So it's a huge test for Illinois' defense to see if they can limit the speed on the outside of Oregon's offense. We'll see if Bielema can do it yet again. I think they're really going to try and slow the game down, get Fegan going in the backfield, because you saw teams like Boise State have success through the run. Even Travion Henderson last week, or 2 weeks ago now, had a really good week against Oregon's defense. So I think Illinois is going to be more run focused, try and keep that Oregon offense off the field. I see this as a spread that's almost a little too much. I think that hook, and it might have come down already, but that hook is intriguing to me. I think 21's a good spot. I think on the offensive side of stuff for Illinois, I like Luke Altmaier, the way he's playing this year. He's really stepped his game up. That's what Illinois thought he was going to be all the time coming from Ole Miss. Now he's really taken that role. Pat Bryant's been really good on the side. Ole Miss transfer Zachary Franklin's been a stud for them. So if they can get those weapons going and they compete late in this game, I think they'll easily cover, but it's a pesky team, and Rank had a problem with them this year. So I almost like Illinois against the spread here. Jake.
Yeah, you kind of mentioned it earlier, Parks, and I'm glad you did. This one, to me, it feels like the Penn State game for Illinois. As far as like their defensive matchup versus Oregon's offense, it just really feels like they're going to be, for lack of a better term, out athleted on the field. I just really like the Illinois offense has been fine. I like Luke Altmaier. I think he's been efficient. He's been good versus Nebraska, Kansas. Do you really say Michigan? Like this team offensively struggled against Michigan and Penn State. I think Oregon's going to have similar athletes, even defensively, whether or not Jordan Birch is on that defensive line. I just think it's a bad spot for Illinois. Dillon Gabriel leads the country with 74% completion rate.
Mhm.
And it's not like the conservative Dillon Gabriel that we're kind of accustomed to seeing. Like you guys saw that game 2 weeks ago versus Ohio State when Evan Stewart can create separation and make plays. His downfield threat capability is really, really good this year. And it's been a difference maker. But like last but not least, this was a team in Purdue that scored 49 points on Illinois. And then last week, they just got shut out at home by Oregon. And I don't love doing usually like team comparisons. They're like similar opponents, but that one kind of just stands out to me. I like what Illinois has done this year. I think they play, decent teams well, like a top 25-ish team, but against a top 5 team, I just don't think they have the athletes to compete on the road, quite frankly.
Thinking back to our Big Ten preview, I don't remember who previewed Illinois, but man, if we would have talked about the schedule back then, I got to assume we ranked it up there in the toughest in the Big Ten, on the road at Nebraska, on the road at Penn State, now on the road at Oregon. They've gone through quite the gauntlet, not to mention their non-con Power 4 opponent in Kansas, who was ranked at that time, who doesn't pan out, but still tough schedule. And Brett Bielema's squad's been impressive through it all. Reese, if you can talk to us, give us a preview.
I can talk to you. I think Schaefer had a very good point. It's just, Illinois' idea, like you talked about 2 parks, they're going to try to make it ugly, but which team's going to be more successful in their game plan? Can Illinois make it ugly, or can Oregon just out athlete guys? And with the environment they have, Oregon or Ohio State went on to Autzen and struggled. They lost that football game. So, and those guys have some of the best athletes in the world, one of the best offensive coordinators in the world too. And so I think this Illinois team is going to struggle taking those guys on the road in this environment with that defense. And you talk about, it's also the hook makes it interesting. I think Illinois can maybe keep it close, but it's a game too that Oregon at the beginning of the year, they didn't show it, but they've kind of come into it as of late. But I think it's a spot where they'll be able to handle this Illinois team. It's just, they just not, the guys still get separation. Can the atmosphere come into it, and they can make Illinois unsuccessful in their game plan, and they can stick to theirs. So,
all right,
I want to add one more thing.
Go ahead.
I understand like the point of like this is a really tough spot for them to go on the road, but this is an Illinois team that probably should have won a game at Michigan last year when they were highly ranked, or the year before. It's a team that's gone on the road historically and not gotten blown out. Like even if they're playing really good football teams, like this is I think it's a team that travels well and does what they're supposed to do.
Wasn't the Penn State spread like something like this big too?
Yeah,
I don't know how big it was.
What did you say, Park? It was 18?
I think it was 18, yeah.
Okay. I don't see, you say that, JP, but I can definitely see this being 30-7. And, we talk about on Monday how Illinois was fighting maybe in the first half.
But 30-7 is only 2-point cover or 1.5. Like it ain't that. That's what I'm saying here. Like they're not getting beat by 24-30 here. I don't feel like that's. I just feel like this is a team that's gone on the road well and played teams close. I don't feel like it's one historically within the last couple of years with Bielema has gotten blown out. Like they've been out athleted, but they stay in games.
Brett Bielema knows how to keep his team in the game, to be honest. Like he's had so much experience coaching in this conference and in tough games. Like he's schemed so well against good teams this year that they remain in the game. It doesn't really matter who's playing. And they're talented too. Luke Altmaier has been really, really good this year, man. He's valued the football. They haven't turned the ball over a ton. If they don't turn the ball over, I really feel like they can stay in this one. But it is a true test with the wide receivers they're facing, because you got Banks and Nair for Nebraska. Who you want to throw out there for Penn State? Fleming was probably the leading receiver in that game. So now you got to face Stewart and some other talent on the outside. I believe, Tez Johnson, exactly. And there's one more. I don't know if the spitter came back from. Did he get suspended?
Trayshawn Holden.
Yeah. Did he get suspended or no?
He didn't play
the second half.
I don't know how that works. I don't know
either. I know people were calling for him to get a police assault charge, but we'll see if he's back. But there's a lot of high caliber weapons that Illinois hasn't faced in the secondary. So we'll see how that goes. Let's kick it off round table style. Score prediction. Who wins? Who covers? JP, lead it off.
Yeah, Illinois covers this one. Oregon wins, though. I'll go 14-point win for Oregon here. Let's just go 31-17.
31-17. I like that spot as well. I got the same thing. Illinois covering the number, Oregon winning the game. I think Oregon wins it by 17. I think it's going to be a good battle, one that you'll want to tune into. So I got that for my result of this one. Jake.
You guys say, Illinois competes in the Big Ten and everything like that. I tried to look up their scores.
Well, it's because we're right, Jake. We're the Big 10 guys. You're the Big 12 guy.
Well,
Keep
that's,
going, though.
that's true. But this team it's new. It's technically
Fair.
basically a Pac-12 team at this point, and it's a new kind of athlete that they're going to see on the field. And I don't know if you guys forgot, but I'm going to go with the numbers. And numbers say when you're traveling 2 time zones in this conference, you don't really cover. So I am going to take Oregon at home. And yeah, I could see it being.
That kind of got debunked last weekend, no?
Yeah, I didn't say your bet of the week was the same reasoning and it lost.
Yep. But how about USC? How about USC? USC.
But the numbers. But the numbers.
USC. So there's my. I had
Sharps are
USC.
wrong 40% of the time.
I had Maryland. I would like to know.
Right
I wish maybe Reese talks. I want to look up the last time Illinois played Ohio State. Now I looked up last year. They played Penn State. I don't know. I don't even think they played Michigan last year. Like I just don't.
Isn't that the battle for the turtle? Isn't that like
the one in the big house when they should have won it?
No, the battle for the turtle is Illinois, Ohio State. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to know like what they did the last time they played a team similar to Oregon, like Ohio State. I would consider in the Big Ten is
Nebraska.
You're gonna say this is a new team. I'm gonna say this is a new team. You go find something from 2021. I'm like, there's a new team. It's a new team.
That's true. And Bielema, he's just a pesky bastard. He doesn't really care. Remember, this is a guy who's whatever the hell that means when it came to the whiteout. So, I mean, they went into the toughest of all tough environments. I still think Oregon will be rocking. But Reese, what do you got on this matchup? Who wins? Who covers?
I'll take Oregon to win and cover. I'll take 37-10.
All right. So blowout in favor of the number 1 overall Ducks. What do you got, Jake? What's the results say?
Also, breaking news.
If you played for a Turtle, Parks, when was the last time you think you played for the Turtle?
I know the last time Illinois won it was like 07, I think, probably 15.
Bruce Williams.
Try 2018. They were going to play in 2020, but that one was canceled. So they haven't played Ohio State in 6 years. And that year, granted, yes, Jordan, new team, long time ago, 52-14.
6 years ago, Jacob.
I understand
if
that.
Illinois played Ohio State, then Nebraska couldn't get blown out by them. So of course the Big Ten schedules Nebraska, Ohio State.
It's not even a Brett Bielema team.
Yeah, that's true. That was that a Lovie Smith Illinois team back then?
Probably was. Hey, listen.
Shout out Lovie.
I tried to make comps, but apparently Illinois and Ohio State never play each other anymore.
That was the Big Ten's fault for their scheduling.
Yeah, it's probably Kevin Warren's bastard doing. But all right, that is Illinois and Oregon. That one should be fun in the Big Ten. Check that one out, 2:30 on the CBS slot with Nestler on the call. Let's move it back to the SEC. And I don't know if we'd be talking about this one because it got into a close dogfight with Missouri last week. Brady Cook comes back from injury, plays hero. They win. Now we're talking about him playing Alabama, who was also coming off a loss in the 3rd Saturday of October against Tennessee. So 2 teams that really need a win in this spot, like Jake mentioned. This is a 2:30 slot on ABC. Over in Tuscaloosa. JP, break this one down for us.
Yeah. Has Missouri really played up to the billing that we kind of understood and saw? Like, this is the one tough game on their schedule. They have a pretty easier when you looked at it preseason, I should say, the tough game on their schedule, everybody had circle. You weren't sure you're getting out of A&M. Obviously, they went down there and got pantsed. But now you go into Bryant Denny. What in the hell? Denny. And you go into Bryant Denny and you got a chance to kind of redeem yourself a little bit with a Bama team who's kind of getting their footing again. But man, Missouri have an identity. Like, it ain't like Luther Burden's been rolling. It ain't like Brady Cook's been rolling. It ain't like the run game's been crazy the last couple of weeks. The offensive line's obviously a question mark. And defensively, they haven't been great either. Like, I just feel like it's a Missouri team without a real identity and without any sort of consistency. And then you kind of look at what Alabama's been doing, right? Like, Alabama-wise, like, you lose the game to Vanderbilt, obviously, and then you reel on the road or at home with South Carolina, and then you go to Tennessee, and you're struggling again, and you lose that one. Now you come home, you're a double-digit favorite. You got a team who's kind of in the same spot as you. If we're being honest, this is 2 teams that really need something to go their way, and you've got to get this one if you're Alabama, right? Especially if you. and I'm not going to pull the whole like, DeBoer isn't a good coach. This is a wrong hire because I think that's asinine. But I do understand the upsetness of the spoiled fan base that Alabama is and what they're seeing. It's also been a tougher schedule for them. It ain't like they've had a cakewalk to this point. Hell, you should be lucky you didn't lose to Georgia. You're lucky you got up 28 points and a certain point in that game. You probably could have 3 losses. In the line is weird to me. I don't love the line in this one. It's definitely one I'd stay away from with my money itself. But I just think there's too many athletes defensively for Alabama in some spots, and the secondary has been exposed. But I don't think Brady Cook is the team or the guy that's going to expose it this year because I haven't seen it, and so I'm not really confident in Missouri's offense to really move the ball on this defense a ton. It's possible through the air. I could see it. We've seen teams do it against Alabama, but I think the front four is really good. I think Alabama's front four or offensive line, let's just move mountains and let's run the football really well against this Missouri defense who hasn't quite figured it out yet either. So get right, Alabama, get right. In Missouri, just show some life here because you've been inconsistent and rough for most of the year.
I think that's a great way to break it down. I think when I looked at this one, I kind of based it off my worries for each team, and more of my worries fell for Missouri. I mean, one, you got to look at the road test so far. They're coming off their most recent road matchup against UMass. They went on the road at A&M and got absolutely drubbed by 31 points when they were ranked top 10 in the country. So they haven't played well on the road, and they haven't really played in an environment like they're going to play in. That spoiled fan base that JP mentioned, they're going to be ready to go. They know how much Alabama needs this one as much as the next. And Missouri, on the other side, you got a banged up Brady Cook. I mean, if he takes a couple of hits with a good defensive front in Alabama, then you're going to get really messy, fall behind, and things are going to go south from there. So I think Missouri, if they're going to have a chance in this one, they need to keep Brady Cook upright. And they also need to limit Ryan Williams. They talked about how many times Ryan Williams got thrown out last week, about 20 times in Knoxville, and they weren't very successful. So then Alabama didn't find success. I think they spread it around more this week and find success at home against a Missouri team that's really backpedaling with a banged up quarterback. Jake.
Yeah, we can agree that the loser of this one, they're out of playoff contention,
yes.
right?
They're out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just want to make that clear because I still think if Alabama finds a way to lose this game, I think they think they're still in it, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see. Doesn't it like come down to like who's maybe the healthier quarterback? I think there's a lot of speculation right now that Jalen Milroe's not right just because he's looked quite frankly atrocious the last couple of weeks. And then Brady Cook coming back from the hospital. How about that? Like
insane move.
One of the best stories of the year, but at the same time, adrenaline's gone. The pain meds or whatever they gave you, that shot in your ankle is now gone. It's gone now. So how good is he going to be? How mobile is he going to be? Staying on the injury front, Nate Noel, I saw today, I think is questionable, is doubtful. So now you turn to Marcus Carroll to try to lead that run game for Missouri, and JP highlighted it. It's not a good run game right now. Like, I think that they thought they had some kind of tandem in the backfield with the App State and the Georgia State transfer. For whatever reason, it's not working, and it's hurt the passing game for Missouri. And Luther Burden hasn't had his great year that we kind of thought he would have in the offseason. Like, let's kind of flip the field, though, a little bit. Whatever happened in that second half of the Georgia game has just messed up Alabama.
Yep.
To this point. And I don't leave the injury rumors aside. Like, Milroe's patience and lack of awareness has been just very poor. Like, for a veteran quarterback who's now had ample starts under his belt, he's kind of going back to his old ways. It's a really interesting game just because how desperate both of these teams need this win. But really, both of these teams couldn't be playing their worst football right now at this point in the season.
It's so interesting to see from that second half of that Georgia-Bama game how those two teams have gone on just different paths of success, but Alabama won that game because Georgia's been nothing but better since that moment, and Alabama's been nothing but worse. So we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. Reese, what are your thoughts on Mizzou and Alabama? Give him a second to buffer here. May not get to him. I mean, he's just battling adversity.
You're gonna talk right now.
Yeah.
Dude, I might need like that was a 30-second horrible. But I think when you look at this game, I've been driving around all of Iowa since I've been back here. But I forget if it was the cover 3 guys or it was Josh Pate, but they talked about this Alabama team and trying to find the identity for the offense. Like, Cam Miller and Justice Haynes, they've really struggled like running the ball. They haven't been able to get themselves established and going, which is, again, Chip just talked about how Milrose really, really struggled with his awareness or getting throws consistently down. Like, and then also that Tennessee game, like that Tennessee should have been up a lot more in that game. Nico just making some bad throws, and it kind of reminded me of Jalen. Like, it was just kind of off and in sync. So I think having this game at home with Bryant-Denny is massive, I think, for this Alabama team, because you talk about how desperate both of these teams are. But having the fans behind you, I think this Alabama offense finds a groove early. But I think just for their sake and for the sake of their season, they got to get that run game established, because this Missouri team, like, they lost all those dudes last year from that defense. And it's a good test for them, because in the SEC so far, they have not been able to run the football. And I think this is a spot where they got to be able to do it.
All right. With that, I'm going to go back down to Reese. Hopefully, at the time I'm done finishing this, it makes up for the delay. But Reese, give us your score prediction. Who wins, who covers in this SEC matchup?
The line, I really don't like where the line is at, but it's also, I'm really not confident in Missouri, so I'll take Alabama in this spot. I'll take them to cover score-wise. Don't know what I do. I think maybe like 34-17, something like that.
All right. I like that spot. What about you, Jake? Where do you got this game on your radar?
Yeah, I don't love the play, but right now Missouri's given me zero confidence to go on the road and get this one done. I like Alabama. You made Connor Wigman look good 2 weeks ago, and we're going to get to that team. Like, you're the only team that's made Connor Wigman look good this year. So I like Alabama, and hopefully Milroe gets right.
All right. We might be leading toward a unanimous pick. I don't know where JP is going to fall, but I have Bama as well. I think they get to Brady Cook, hit him a few times. And once they get down a couple of scores, I think it's going to be much easier for Brady Cook to kind of take the back path of standing on the sideline. Then you get a backup quarterback in there. Alabama starts to roll, slow the game down. Milroe's legs start to get active again, like we've seen him in the beginning of the season. And Alabama rolls to about a 17 to 21 point win here, or more, if that backup quarterback decides to start turning the ball over from Mizzou. JP.
Yeah, again, I hate this line, but like Jake said, I've just gotten no confidence in Missouri at this point in time.
Yep.
Not that I have a ton at Alabama, but at least they're at home, and I think a little better in some spots. So I'll take Alabama.
All right, there it is. Unanimous Alabama pick from the boys. We'll see if Missouri can come back and bite us in the ass.
This is going to end
Jake,
well.
do you have a comment down there?
I just have some breaking news. I mean, we might as well kind of throw it on the show, because I feel like we got to pay tribute to a legend. Grayson McCall took a bad hit a couple of weeks ago. He's retiring from college football. He's, I don't know, Reese said was going to make that point.
Reese was going to make that point. I believe he can still talk, but let me get Reese up here for a second. JP threw him off. Little production error. If the Wi-Fi is going to mess up, we might as well mess up with Reese. Here he comes.
We're here with the boys.
All right.
No, go ahead.
Reese.
I was just saying, I said that before.
No, I was gonna say we gotta pay tribute to our legend, Grayson McCall. He's calling it quits, says he's going to join the coaching staff. Kind of too bad, because I think I wasn't super high on his move to NC State. I didn't know necessarily if he was going to be able to make that Power 4 jump, but I mean, he's like, I don't want to say he's as memorable, but he's almost like a Jordan Lynch, right, JP? Like, we're going to be saying Grayson McCall's name in 10 years when we get together for reunions.
You remember him?
It's 1 a.m. and you're just throwing out random names from college football that are legends. Like, Grayson McCall is going to be that guy.
2020 Coastal was a sight to behold. Shout out Grayson McCall. Good career. Wish it would have worked out at NC State, but that went south fast. All right. With that, let's go back into the Week 9 previews. But before we do so, stop and talk about No Rivals, our great partner, shopnorivals.com. Use the code PTFS at checkout once you pick your premium headwear. Request your team under the Teams tab. If you don't see them, they will add them. Brand new company, awesome designs. Check out No Rivals. We appreciate their partnership and belief in us. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, I did you guys know I did this yesterday for the first time? Went in and requested my team. I tell everybody on the Iowa State Fan Perspective to go to No Rivals, request your team, and type it in. I did that myself yesterday. No Rivals gave me a 20% off. So something to keep in mind if you have some motivation to go do that.
And if you don't, I don't know if they let you, but double up coupons. Use the code
Yeah.
PTFS, 20% off, free shipping. All of a sudden, you're at a $30 hat, and it's worth it. They last a while. They got good structure to them. I'm wearing the vintage SMU cap right now. But let's not talk about SMU yet. Let's talk a little LSU, Texas A&M. These two teams have kind of slept their way into the top of the SEC picture. So we'll learn a lot about both of them. Like Jake mentioned, Connor Wegman has been playing better since he's come back than at the beginning of the season, but this should be another tough test for him. Good opportunity for LSU on offense. JP, break this one down for us.
Absolutely. I think in a lot of ways, LSU's surprised some people, not offensively, in the way that Garrett Nussmeier's been playing, because we knew the kid could throw the football and he's got arm talent at the Sunday level. Honestly, the defense has been the subtle surprise, and obviously an incredible hire in the offseason by Brian Kelly. And that defensive unit has just gotten better as the year's gone. And it ain't like they're playing nobodies in some ways, right? Like they're staying in games. USC, obviously, that game feels like it's floating farther and farther and farther away. For the most part, they held in check an Ole Miss team, and then a kind of a limping around Taylor Green in Arkansas last week. The thing for LSU right now is it's just a confident team, and it's a team that wasn't expected to be in this spot. And now you get tasked with another tough road game, right? Like at Arkansas wasn't easy a week ago, and then they ended up pulling away late. At South Carolina early in the year obviously wasn't tough. It took a late drive in that one to win it. There are spots for LSU that I've been really surprised with, and I'm really excited to watch them this weekend in another tough environment here. They are going against a Texas A&M defense who's been really good, very fundamental for Elko's group, very good against the run, and pretty good against the pass in some ways too. Just overall a very balanced defense that doesn't give up a ton. You saw them absolutely just strangle Missouri. Obviously, Missouri has talent at the receiver position with Luther Burden, but they just weren't able to run the football literally at all. And then Luther Burden was just locked down and absolutely clamped by that Texas A&M secondary. Kind of where I'm at for the A&M team is yes, like Wegman looked better in that game and he started to kind of play a little bit better, but I still don't, it just feels like a team is missing a little something to fully be, a true competitor to get an SEC title and to raise a trophy in Atlanta in my eyes. But this LSU team feels a little bit different. So I'm excited to see that. The run game versus the rush defense. Again, this is not an LSU team we thought would be really good against the run. They've been good against the run, and they face teams who can run the ball well. And A&M has shown the ability to run the football very, very well. So that's where I'm really going to pay attention to this, is when A&M has the football, are they able to control the football game at home at night and really just kind of lean on LSU as they have some for other teams that they've played this year, just lean on them and stay within their identity and win a football game late and close like Elko's teams usually do.
I think the key to the game here for A&M to kind of roll like they did against Missouri, obviously, I think you're facing a better offense, a more consistent offense overall. It's not so one-dimensional with their one star wide receiver who's very good in Luther Burden, but Kyron Lacey and Garrett Nussmeier has been so good this year. That's kind of a similar connection. I think up front for Texas A&M on the defensive side of the ball, Nick Scorton, the Purdue transfer, who's been good again this year, 4.5 sacks. Him getting home, getting Nussmeier uncomfortable is really where you've seen teams have success against LSU. South Carolina forces a couple of pick sixes on Nussmeier because they get in his face. They bang him around. I think Texas A&M needs to do the same, have success at home this week. There are 2.5-point favorites. So as good as LSU's been playing and winning games and playing Ole Miss, I think this is a good spot for A&M and another tough test for the 12th man to prove themselves as a tough place to play in college football, because everybody's starting to write them off, realizing that it's pretty easy to win in Aggie land. Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, you highlighted Parks. You said Scorton's been good. Scorton's been elite. He is probably top 3 pass rusher in college football right now. Him versus Will Campbell, the left tackle at LSU, is an absolute elite matchup of two just absolute dudes in this conference. When you talked about JP, he mentioned the struggles of the run game for Missouri and how it was able to kind of just put them in the back seat against Texas A&M at home. How about the unsung hero of Caden Durham, the running back at LSU? I think he is kind of one of those sneaky guys under the radar who you might need a big game from him. He's been pretty solid. They didn't have backs basically up until the South Alabama game. They ran Durham out there and he's been pretty steady. This one for LSU reminds me of the South Carolina game. I think A&M's a better football team, but just some of the vibes just kind of give me the South Carolina game. I think LSU has been punched in the mouth multiple times this year. I think they've responded well. I think they are ready for a road trip at A&M. And I said it before when we were talking about Missouri's defense and Connor Wigman. Of the 3 games we've seen this year, the great game against Missouri is the outlier for Connor Wigman. He hasn't looked good against Mississippi State. He could have thrown more than just 2 picks that he already did throw. And then Notre Dame put him in a blender. Now, LSU's defense is not Notre Dame. Don't get me wrong. It's better. It's improved. They're going to give up explosive plays. But if Wigman's going to have success, it starts with Le'Veon Moss, the running back for Texas A&M. He's going to have at least probably 125, if I had to guess. So you kind of look at the running backs, like which running back is going to show up for both these teams. I think that might be the factor in who's going to win this game.
I think it's so fun we get a chance to break this one down and talk about it, because if you would have told us in week 2 that, hey, you're going to be talking about this and neither of these teams are going to lose after week 1, because that's when they both lost. LSU falls to USC, A&M falls to Notre Dame. Here we are 7 weeks later talking about them being 6-1 football team. So it's a fun matchup to watch. JP, kick us off. Who wins? Who covers in this one?
Yeah, I like LSU in this spot. I do. And I think I like this LSU team a lot more than I thought I would. And that's literally not a knock on A&M. I just feel like A&M has more of a chance to become very one-dimensional and easier for LSU to defend. And we're talking about how good the front 4 and all the guys for A&M have been. How about this LSU offensive line, guys? Like, it's one of the best in the country, if not the best. It's not going to give up a ton of sacks. Like, they haven't run the ball elite yet, but like Jake said, they're finding their groove a little bit with it and supplementing it with Nussmeier's ability to get the ball downfield and stretching the pass game. So I'll take LSU here, and I kind of like them comfortably.
I think for me, I take a look at what I said, where I think Scourton can get home. I think they can make Nussmeier uncomfortable, force a couple of turnovers. I think LSU is a little bit more battle tested. They've played tougher opponents since that week 1 game. But I do think this is such a big moment for A&M. I'm going to take him again. I think I took him against Notre Dame. So don't prove me wrong, 12th man. I need you. I need a couple of turnovers from that A&M defense, a few sacks, bang up Nussmeier, limit Lacey, and A&M will find themselves in a good win and cover spot. I like Texas A&M to win and cover. Jake.
Have you guys seen the video that's surfacing today? I think it was Nussmeier at the Manning Passing Academy this summer. And he said something like, Kyle Field's loud, but it's no Baton Rouge. It's not even close. It's like, what are we doing? Like, why are we saying these things out loud publicly with a camera in our
bulletin board material,
knowing damn well you're playing there this year? Garrett, I'm disappointed, but it's not going to shy me away from this pick. I've picked all favorites this week. So I don't love that, but it's kind of the way we're going, I guess. We got LSU. JP, I kind of feel the same way, comfortably. You know, maybe they're up 2 scores and A&M gets a backdoor touchdown or something like that. But I really think that this LSU team is just, oddly enough, too, hasn't been getting talked about enough as far as like a playoff contender. Yeah, whichever one. This is, again, just like the Missouri Alabama game, in a sense of like, this is a defining game for their season. On the LSU or the Alabama Missouri side, it's like the loser, but the winner of this game is going to be everybody's headline news, because it is the game of the weekend. Everybody's going to be talking about, why are we talking about LSU being a playoff contender or A&M, vice versa? So another great factor in this game.
Yeah.
All right, there it is. There's LSU and A&M, a great SEC matchup on ABC at 6:30. Let's go down and quickly cover SMU and Duke. Let's let JP talk about his Mustangs. He's a de facto SMU fan. Jake, you can throw in some quick thoughts. I will just go score prediction here so we can open things up. But JP, break this one down in your mind.
Absolutely. How about 6-1 and 6-1? Now, I talked to SMU. I got a chance to break them down in the preseason, and I said that 9-3, 10-2 is a possibility. I didn't pick them to be my ACC champ, but this is kind of where I expected this team to be. Now, I didn't see the loss being to a BYU team who's turned out to be solid. But what I think people forget with SMU, since they've made the Kevin Jennings move at quarterback, is the defense. They've played really good defense over at SMU, right? And obviously, they gave up 27 to Louisville. and 42 to TCU, but they put up 66 in that TCU game and they won that Louisville game on the road. I just think this is an SMU team that's starting to get a little bit more recognition. And honestly, like Kevin Jennings has been the difference. Like this is a team that could not find their groove. They win that BYU game, I feel like, at home if they have Kevin Jennings getting more snaps and starting that whole thing. Like they're averaging defensively. This SMU team's given up under 3 yards a carry. This is a Duke team who honestly has no run game, and the ability to throw the ball for them with Malik Murphy's been okay. But it's not a Duke team that's played super tough schedule. Like the one tough game that on their schedule is Georgia Tech, I would say, and they lost that by 10. Like they
unanimous pick from us, by the way. We were all in Georgia Tech.
Yeah, like I just don't feel like this is a Duke. It's a Duke team with a fluky record. It's not any knock on what Manny Diaz is doing and what they're trying to do there. It's just not a talented team. Will they be up for this one and ready to go? Absolutely. I'm just not saying that the fan base is bought in as they were when Mike Elko was there. And I think this SMU team brings too much talent to the board.
I love the way you ended that because would be my only point is Duke seems to be a tough place to play for some teams. Notre Dame rolling in when they were ranked high. But I think we're eerily close to basketball season, and I saw they did their kickoff last night. So I don't know if they're going to be dialed in for this one in the SMU talent on the defensive side.
This on ACC networks, gross, by the way, right? This should be an ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN game.
ACC network is ESPN technically. I think everybody has.
But ESPN2,
right?
It should be on. Like it should be on
a main network. North Texas was on ESPN2 last week, so I agree. That's just where they put the premium brands on ESPN2. Throw them out there. Jake, what are your thoughts on this matchup in this game?
Has SMU not just had the strangest season probably of all the teams in college football? Like, remember in the offseason, we thought Preston Stone was going to be one of the best passers in college football. SMU is everybody's dark horse favorite. We go to week 0. They're playing Nevada, who, by the way, Nevada has been giving people fits all year. And
good hire out of them.
Took them to the wire, and we're like, oh my God, SMU is terrible. They beat
exactly what
Christian, and then they play BYU, who was everybody's last pick in the Big 12. They lose there, and we're like, oh my God, if SMU makes a bowl game, it's going to be a miracle, right? And then I had TCU going into Dallas and just smacking them around. Yeah, it was the exact opposite. And I think really since the Florida State game, this team hasn't looked back. Like Kevin Jennings has been just an absolute stud.
So good.
It's funny because they went to Jennings pretty much since the BYU second half, and he didn't look good in that half either. That's basically why they lost the game, but he's figured it out. He's been really good. He's hard to prep for because he's basically their leading rusher too. He can do both things. He can do both things really well. It's going to be Manny Diaz is just going to have to get into his bag and really scheme up a great game plan defensively. And injury-wise, their star tight end, RJ Maryland, tore his ACL this year, so he's out for the year. So something to keep in mind as well. But I do like this spot for SMU.
All right, kick us off then, Jake. Roundtable style. Who wins? Who covers?
I mean, am I really going to go? We're already going all favorites, right? So let's just lay the 11.5 on the road. We're laying numerous double-digit spreads on the road this week.
I thought you just took LSU.
Isn't LSU favored?
No. A&M's a 2.5 point favorite.
Oh, okay.
You got a dog in there. Does that change your pick?
Okay. No, it doesn't. Then I feel better about SMU. Let's lay them.
All right. I'm with you on that one. I think SMU, I think it's going to be dead. And I think they have too much they can do offensively through the run game against this Duke team. And I don't think Duke's played anybody and the crowd's not going to be enough. So I like SMU in this spot to keep rolling in the ACC. JP.
Isn't Duke's like traveling to Duke like right now? Isn't just a graveyard? Like, isn't that a spot where like SMU could sleepwalk its way?
Yeah,
through?
100%.
I'm a little nervous on that part.
Lay them. 31-13. Lay them.
Another laying them.
SMU from a little bit of a de facto SMU fan. So take that with a grain of salt, but they are very talented.
Georgia's campus could never afford to go to school there, and I would not fit in culturally, but it's cool.
Fair enough. All right. The non-cultural fit JP from the mouth of babes there. All right. That is the week 9 preview for individual games. Now we can open it up a little bit, talk about the rest of the slate. If there's any games that stick out to you, I saw a few in here and there that are interesting. So let's open it up. Jake, tell us about some games you like on the slate.
Yeah, I want Well, I kind of want to throw it back to you guys. Let's throw a couple out there. What any initial thoughts on either Texas at Vandy or BYU at
I have-
UCF
I
being
have
an
Texas
underdog?
coming later in the show.
Yeah, I get one that I am not going to have later in the show, but I thought about that's not that is I thought Miami at Virginia Tech is somewhat interesting. I think
At Miami at Virginia Tech?
I believe that's it, right? Am I
No,
wrong?
Miami's got FSU this weekend.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's what I was talking about, and I was talking about it in the sense that I like Miami minus the 21. I don't think Florida State scores.
That's
Hey,
cover
can
three
I
was
ask you
tough.
about a game?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I know you probably did it in the Big 12 show. Plug your little the Big 12
Yeah,
show here.
no, that's why we're here to talk about it.
Can you tell me about Colorado Cincinnati?
Yeah, fascinating. Like one of those, it's the best game of the weekend in the conference, although BYU, UCF could get really interesting. Cincinnati, I just feel like is getting undervalued in this, but
Okay.
there's also a scenario where like Colorado, I think could win by a bunch. I think Cincinnati does a bunch of things well. I think they run the football really well. They got a really good running back. I think they've got a decent wide receiver in Henderson. Sorsby, I said it in the show, when he doesn't turn the ball over, like this offense is really good. It's Colorado is just so weird, man. Like they put up a fight against Kansas State. We know that. They won on a Hail Mary against Baylor, dominated a bad UCF team.
Yeah.
And then, last week was a good win. I don't want to discredit Colorado. What they've done is really good, but also Arizona's in shambles. Like this feels like the first time that they are playing a team similar to them. It feels like they've either played Kansas State, who's quite frankly just much better, I think, and then they've played a bunch of teams who are below them. But let's look at the home games, right? Like we said it, I think I said this on the show a couple weeks ago. I think every home game there ends up being a one possession game.
That's what it feels like, for
Right?
sure.
The Baylor game was a 3-point game, Kansas State game, 3-point game, North Dakota State, 5-point game. So it's going to be a really good one. I did pick Cincinnati, though. I think
Gotcha.
Cincinnati, I don't know if they're getting enough love yet. I really don't think so.
They are sleeping a little bit through that one. But another one interested in the Big 12, Jake, is how about UCF being a 2.5-point favorite against a top 15 ranked BYU team? Is that a trap line there?
Well, BYU was, weren't they a 2-point underdog at Baylor? And we
Yep.
got that. And that was
No,
a
I took
trap,
them.
too.
That was my best bet.
There you go. So take it for what it is. UCF just, it feels like bad news comes out about that team every single week. Like I was telling you, Parks, off the air about that guy. So apparently one of their defensive ends, JP, he talked to his defensive line coach before the season. Their plan was he was going to redshirt this year.
Mm-hmm.
He supposedly played his 4 games, redshirted, and then Malzahn told a chief of staff member to tell this kid to get off the team. His locker needs to be cleaned out by the end of the day. Malzahn never talked to him. So he hand typed a letter and then somehow that leaked on the internet, and it is what it is. So like, and you look at the game last weekend, right? That was one, it felt like they had literally, and it slipped away. And now I feel like I don't know. It just feels like the train's coming off the track with UCF right now.
That's definitely what it feels like. All right, JP, any games that stick out to you on the slate?
Yeah, let's talk Penn State, Wisconsin quick.
Good one.
Go on the road. Wisconsin's numbers are odd because when they've played good offenses, they've given up a ton of points. Alabama, USC, but then they've played a ton of really bad offenses, and it's kind of the numbers are skewed in that way. But I don't want to say it's a bad Wisconsin defense either. They've kind of just been hanging around this year, waiting for an opportunity. Now they're going to get one at Camp Randall. And if you're Penn State, like lock down the run game, stay within yourself, keep Drew Aller hot, keep the run game really good. I just want to see Penn State go control a football game again. Is kind of what I'm hoping for in this situation.
On the road, right? They're going to Madison
in Camp Randall,
and Ohio State's next weekend, correct? Or is
Let
that
me
2
check.
That's
weeks?
correct.
Let me double
No, that's
check.
correct. It
Next
is
week?
Ohio State. Yep. Ohio
The
State at
second.
Penn State next week, because I talked about Ohio State maybe being in a lookover spot this weekend against the Huskers. But I was joking. But yeah, that's next week. Penn State, Ohio State in Happy Valley.
Out of all the Big Ten teams, I should say of all the well-known, respected Big Ten teams, it feels like we have not talked Wisconsin in 2 or 3 years.
Everybody wrote him off after Alabama.
And
This
I
year,
understand.
I don't think they're super talented. I think they're fine.
Well, Malusi's down, right? Malusi's down and out. They're on
Yep.
the backup quarterback. So their two
Yeah,
main skill
Locke.
positions, they're at Locke and the other one.
Yeah.
I think my hot take of the Big Ten was I thought, Fickle could be a little hot seat going into next year.
You got
I
to
don't know
throw
how
that out the
Wisconsin
window
feels.
now, 5-2.
Yeah. I don't know how Wisconsin fans feel about the Longo hire, but I was not a fan of it. It just didn't feel very fickle. Like it felt like he was at Cincinnati. He had a very strong identity, and that's not what he took to Wisconsin, in my opinion.
I mean, what they've been doing is impressive. I mean, you beat a bad Purdue team, so what? But then that Rutgers team has talent. Callie McManus is not the best, but Monangai, they limited him well. They just took care of business against a decently talented Rutgers team. So I think this is going to be a learn a lot spot about Wisconsin within the conference. I like that we mentioned the game, but you got to think Wisconsin drops this one, right? Just because they're kind of on the back end of their quarterback and running back.
Hey, this has the recipe for, like I said, a couple of weeks ago with like Vandy, Alabama, Tennessee, Arkansas. Like you have a huge look ahead spot for Penn State. You're not even considering this one being an upset. And then a team that's on one of the last remaining undefeated teams. I don't know. I'm getting those vibes.
That would be a very Penn State thing to do, is to lose this one before your matchup with Ohio State, which you've been gearing up
Everything's
for 5
been
years.
lining up for them.
Yeah, that's really what it's happened, including their battle against USC. So I think maybe that helps, Jake. Like you get into a dogfight in overtime with USC. Maybe you're like, all right, we can't look past anybody, especially against a 5-2 Wisconsin team that's been steamrolling decent opponents here. But
you want to get funky.
Wisconsin drops it. Yeah.
Penn State loses this one and wins next week.
Yeah,
Things get weird.
Real gross. Because then you got like Oregon and you get Oregon. What if Oregon and Penn State lose?
Things
Or
get
Oregon
weird, man.
Yeah, they get really weird in the Big Ten. Who's going to come out of that? That's kind of I don't want to say JP hopeful after last week, but who would come out of that Big Ten after that?
Don't even put me in that conversation.
That's fine. We're a lot of season left, Jordan. Here we go. Let's stay positive a little bit.
Parks, do we get off the mat? Mean Green host Tulane, 8-point underdog at home.
That screams a Mean Green loss by 7. Take North Texas. I thought about him for my dog's dog. I literally thought about him, but my new de facto fandom wouldn't even let me take it because the last time I took him was against Texas Tech, so I wouldn't even take it.
What do you think the total is for that game?
Got to be
63.5.
843.
What did you say, Jordan?
63.5.
Got to be 70.
You both are in the middle, 67.5.
Yeah, that's about right. I mean,
How
Chandler
about-
Morris is going to throw for 450, but they're going to give
What-
up 500.
Principal play last week, Jordan was saying you got to take the under in the New Mexico-Utah State
Just too many
game.
points.
Just blew it by a million. That's not enough.
78.
That's
You
not
know why,
enough.
though? You know why? JP's boy Petrus has been slinging the rock.
Yep.
a
He
little
does
bit.
sling it.
400 yards again. This guy can throw. It's got to hurt a little bit, JP. It's got to hurt.
They're
a
all
little.
slinging it. I don't know if you know that, but Labas at Central Michigan slinging it too. Like they all sling it. It's just odd how that happens. It's totally like it's not the program or anything.
All right, let's go into our dog's dog to kick things off betting wise. That was the week 9 preview. I'll lead it off with our dog's dog because I haven't led off for my dog's pick this year, but I need a winner, and I'm going to go try and find a greasy one and give me the team that's kind of riding high, that has nothing to lose and has been playing like that all year. Michigan State plus the 3.5 at Michigan. I think they limited the run a great job against Iowa last week. I think they can do the same against Michigan's one focused offense and running the football. And in a rivalry game, things can get messy. I think Michigan Stadium will be ready for this one. However, I do think Michigan State can steal one. Aiden Childs was pretty impressive last week against a good Iowa defense, and they're going to win again. So I like plus 3.5 Michigan State at Michigan. Jake.
You want greasy.
Oh, God. Here we go.
How
I
greasy
I don't know.
is...
I have
Give
an
me your
idea,
greasiest.
JP's getting excited. JP's getting really
I have an
excited.
idea.
Let's go Kansas
Oh,
plus
that's not what
That-
10. Plus 10.
I looked at it,
At-
Jakey. I looked at it.
at Kansas State. People are thinking, why isn't that like 17? They're 2-5. They've lost 15 in a row in the Sunshine Showdown or whatever the hell they call it.
That is it.
Kansas
Sunflower.
Sunflower.
Sunshine.
Yeah,
Sunflower
sorry,
Showdown.
Sunflower. You're correct. The
Sunflower
Sunflower
Showdown, right?
Yep. Jalen Daniels has been getting better. His last 2 weeks have been really good. And I didn't have them putting up 42 against Houston. Now, I have a Big 12 show, and I've been drinking the Kool-Aid of overreacting to some of these teams, and they just make me look stupid the next week. That very well could be this one. But you have a Kansas State team who's coming off 2 really good road wins at Colorado, at West Virginia. I know it's a rivalry game. They're going to be amped up, but this just feels like the best spot. Like this would be the spot where Kansas finally snaps this streak after having just a horrific season. This is their Super Bowl. Like this is what they have to play for.
You can see that. It's kind of like the Kansas at Texas upset where you're like not expecting it. You kind of wrote them off from what Kansas was. And then all of a sudden Jared Casey catches a 2-point conversion and you lose. JP, your dog's dog for the week.
I could have got. I mean, I want to, but I don't want to de facto, kind of jinx this thing.
Go ahead.
So I'm gonna be lame. I'm gonna take LSU. I'm confident in it. I feel really good about LSU right now. You want to hear what I could have done? That's disgusting and probably
that just feels like a favorite play. Like I feel like you saved that for the favorite play segment.
Could have taken the Warhawks plus 7.5.
Yep.
South Al.
Now that's a dog's dog. Now
That's
that
gross.
is a greasy little dog. That's a mutt. That's the
Undefeated
new
in the
thing.
Sun
If it's a
Belt. Come on.
greasy game, that's a mutt. That's not a dog's dog. But I like that. All right, ULM. That's what your pick is. LSU, take it as your favorite. But let's go to our best bets to wrap things up tonight. JP, lead it off with your best bet.
Over 53 Texas Vandy.
All right,
Let's
like that.
Let's get fun. Let's have fun in Nashville. Texas, obviously, I think is going to be able to score with their offense. And this is a good Texas defense. I'm not saying it's not, but let's just have a little Pavia magic in this thing and let's just get weird, man. So over 53.
I have a weird feeling about that one. Not that in like a Vanderbilt upset way, but like this is the week that you're kind of watching it because you think it could be an upset and Texas beats them by 70. I don't know. Either way, that's an over. So I like that play. Jake.
That's an over. I really don't. I don't love you. Go first, Parks. I don't love anything this week. I don't want to steal yours.
Oh,
so
I'll
you
go first. You're definitely not going to steal mine. I promise you. I could tell you that earlier in the episode because I like the Buffs minus the 5 at home against Cincinnati.
All right.
I think there's too much talent on the outside. I think Will Shepard step up for that group. LeJontay Westard's kind of been the guy they thought he was going to be. I think Shadur against a team in a spot where people are really starting to feel like Colorado is a contender in the Big 12 after everybody wrote him off after the Nebraska game. I like him at home at Folsom. Maybe a 1-score game, but 7's enough for me. So give me the Buffs. And that is a very mature decision out of me.
It is.
You've grown as a man. You've really grown as a man.
I mean, that school can go fuck itself, but I liked him this weekend.
I was going to go 2 ACC teams. I was thinking Miami if you want to lay it, but we'll just lay it with SMU. Like I think that this JP, you're right. The Duke offense is not good. They beat Florida State by scoring 160 points. It's a great saying, by the way. We're laying it. We're laying it.
I like that. We're going to have to make that a staple. That's an A++ idea out of there. Guys, part of the brand. I like that. But all right.
Yeah, I just think no, you're good. I just think JP nailed it on the head with the score prediction. He said like 38-13. I think that's exactly right. The only thing that makes me nervous is a team sleepwalking through this, but
yeah,
good coach teams don't do that. And I think this team is getting better each and every single week. And Rhett Lashley's got this group rolling for a legitimate ACC title.
Lay it. Why don't you lay the 38-13? If you think it's exactly right, put it on there. I bet you hit that exacto. It's got quite the payout.
I bet it does too.
Just put a 5 on it. You never know. But all right, that is the week 9 preview. We took you through. Ooh. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. We totally, and Reese left. And we went games of the week. And I know
Syracuse Pitt.
That's one of the best games of the week.
Thursday.
And it's
that line's dancing from 3 to 6 to 5.5 right now.
Yeah.
Eli Holstein, man, like that team just keeps scoring points and they're at home. I think that's why the line is where they are. We can quick preview that one too, Jake. Like, I think Pitt has shown Narduzzi's kind of got out of his own way and let the offense be the
Yeah.
offense and let them do their thing, and kind of played into Holstein's kind of bread and butter here. Syracuse, I think, another tough road game for them. Parks, you talked about teams that had multiple. How about another team in orange and blue with a tough road schedule? The Syracuse side of this is like, can you be good defensively enough? Like, can you get enough stops? I think Pitt feels like they can be in that spot, but can you get enough stops? Because I'm still confident in McCord in that passing attack to go out there and put up some points.
I'd never go against Reese. Give me the orange, Jake.
It's just kind of it's a good little combo matchup between the LaQuint Allen, Kyle McCord show and Des Reed, Eli Holstein. I think both teams they can mix it up in their own ways. Like, I think if they wanted to throw it around a bunch, I think both teams could do that. But I think both teams really like their running backs too.
So it's Syracuse once back in.
It's going to be interesting to see how both coaches kind of, see things out. Fran Brown being the younger coach, Narduzzi's, he's been around the block for a while. Fantastic Thursday game. If you are listening to this on Thursday.
Don't worry, Reese is down there. He's a part of the show. We can see his reactions. I took the cues, but we did break down Pitt and Syracuse because it is a great game this week.
Can we throw him in one more time? Just say one sentence. See if he says something.
I don't know if we'll be able to get him in here. Give me 10 seconds to get it set up just in case it does work, but we'll try. I mean, this is on the fly.
If you guys are, whoever's tuning into this tonight, you guys are OGs. Like, you guys will be our OG listeners when we're big time.
Reese, you like the cues?
Love the orange. When am I ever gonna not love the orange? It's a great spot for him. So what? It's Thursday night. It's kind of a weird spot for him too. But I mean, they had the week off too. So, but I mean, you like them in the spot if they can get a run game going. I mean, for once, and not have to have Kyle throw the ball 60. You think their odds a little better too. But I mean, Pitt's been good, but I mean, their schedule too is kind of, I think, similar to Syracuse, where they haven't really been maybe the most battle tested. So I think this is kind of a good, like maybe measuring stick for both of these programs too. Like, cool, we both have these records, but like this is actually going to be a solid test for, I think, both of them to see kind of where they're at for the year.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it from the Syracuse fan himself. To wrap things up, before we go, I forgot to mention we previewed our G5 game of the week, Boise at UNLV. Obviously, this one stands out to everybody, but we are dropping a preview of that game fully, just as we did the other 5 at the beginning of the show, on our YouTube right now. So check that out if you haven't. Hit the like on that video. Hit the like on this video. What should they do to all our content in general, JP?
Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on all socials.
Nailed that. Jake, code for No Rivals. ShopNoRivals.com, premium collegiate headwear.
PTFS. Damn it.
It went the other way, but I like that.
Go that way.
We're working through things tonight. We appreciate you being here. We'll see you next week, or we'll see you this Sunday for the Week 9 recap. Let's have a great week of college football. We love you. We'll see you next time. Jake, take us away.
Let's lay it and pull it.